Hello, friends. Welcome back to Look Who's Chalking. You probably thought it was over. You probably thought we mailed it in. Now, we kind of are going to mail it in, but at least we're here to allow you to watch our mail-in process, which starts today, week 17 of the NFL season. Normally, this would be the carnival week because it would be the final week of the year where they're putting in those freak running backs, getting 30 carries. You never heard of them because the team's out of it. But this year's a little different. We're going to have some of that. But mostly it's still normal out there. This is a week I'm going to despise because there's no Saturday games, no postponement. You have a full slate. How are you going to figure out who blows up? You're not. You're going to lose just like me. But hopefully Gary can help us out now that he's back, relaxed from T. Higgins Cocaine Palace down there in Colombia. Gary, how you doing, you married man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm holding my
Coming
microphone
live from
today.
ringside of the boxing fight. Gary Hartman standing ringside.
Well, Andrew, we got two real heavyweight fighters here tonight, and they are both really in for a long 12-round match. Anyway,
Really, well, why do those in between round boxing guys always have to be 1920s cab drivers from New York
and talk very fast, right? It's like
yeah. We got a 3 to 4 round lead here for Jacobs. Or fast hand Jacobs really coming in there.
He's getting the jab in there, but he's got a little cut under his right eye. We're gonna see.
Yo, that's so good, man. That's actually real funny.
He's got to put him in a body bag. Anyway, we
So out of curiosity, did you put in lineups while you were on vacation?
No. So anyway, 2 weeks off. I appreciate everyone's patience. Sorry that we weren't. No, I couldn't. Colombia, no DFS in Colombia. Plenty of. I got called for cocaine like 9 times on the street, but no, not allowed to play DFS there. But so no, I mean it was only gone for.
Did you really? Days. Did you get some cocaina?
I did not partake, but it's funny. There's like peddlers all over the street, and like they're under the guise of like selling you cigars and cigarettes, and they'll be like Cubanos, whatever, and then they'll tweet us like, I got weed, I got coke.
Just under the cocaina.
Yeah, right. I was like, all right, thank you very much. I'm on my honeymoon, but wedding went great, amazing actually. Went by without a hitch. We had no outbreaks. We tested. We had everyone vaxxed. It was pretty incredible. And then Colombia was great. Now I'm in. No offense to anybody from this city out there, but I'm in my least favorite city in the world, which is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where my sister just had a baby, my first nephew. So I'm hanging out with him. He's 10 days old, and it's been just great. We're hanging out here for New Year's. So a lot of fun. Excited to dive back into football, though. It's been weird 2 weeks off of DFS. I'm pumped to get back in the saddle here.
Yeah, so he's coming to you live ringside in Philadelphia. I'm coming to you from the scene in Boiler Room where there's just an empty apartment and nothing but a TV mounting rack on the wall behind me. That's what I do on weeks when I'm on the road. I go to an abandoned warehouse and actually just set up shop. So, Gary, let's take a look here. Week 17. I tried to take one glance. It's as I thought it would be too overwhelming, too many matchups, too many this, too many that. I guess the first thing that I can open up with is it's probably not a bad time to chase down people who are trying to cash in on some incentives, or they're trying to break some sort of record, or is that just rudimentary thinking?
No, it's not rudimentary thinking. All of these quarterbacks especially want their skill position guys to get all their incentives in their contracts. They want them to hit bonuses. They want them to break records. You have that mixed with the fact that, as you mentioned before, this is not a normal week 17. This is the second to last week of the season. So playoff races and playoff implications are higher than ever right now. So even in a matchup, say like the Eagles and Washington football team, Washington's eliminated already, but Philly can clinch already this week one of the wild card spots. So you better believe Washington's incentivized, especially coming off that blowout in Dallas, to prevent a NFC East rival from getting in. So I think everyone's going to be come to play. We've seen COVID's obviously still running wild, so we have a lot of question marks as far as players that might be on the field. But for the most part, a lot of records to be broken, a lot of playoff implications. I think we're going to see for the very most part most of the fantasy superstars out and ready to go this week.
So I'm looking at the schedule. I took a glance, and without even having to take a look, my first thought was, oh God, if there's a game people really kind of have to be looking at after the way Dallas performed on Monday Night Football, you're talking about an absolute beating. Dak didn't even play for the second half of the game for the most part because they were that effective on offense. Now you got a team like that staying indoors, coming up against Arizona, who, although they didn't play well, Like that game just screams, okay, shootout, 4:30 game, everyone's going to be watching. And I'm inclined to trust the Kyler Murray side, who's had a bunch of tough games, probably would scare some people off. There's no Hopkins, but my guess is people would want to play Cowboys and then Edmonds because of what Edmonds did. So how about you give me some of the Cardinals like Murray and Kirk, and then give me like Gallup, the one who hasn't done anything on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard not to like that game, despite what Arizona's looked like. What really stands out to me there too is like someone like Zach Ertz, who has 13 targets last week, 11 targets the week before that. I mean, the Cowboys are middle of the pack against tight ends, but clearly he's become a favorite target of Murray, especially with Hopkins out, especially with Murray, who, I'm starting to get worried about this trend with him just as far as sustainability throughout a full NFL season. I mean, we've seen this now for a couple of years in a row, like December, Kyler Murray is not the same as September, October Kyler Murray is, which is a little bit of a concern. But they need this game, and Dallas is still obviously playing for positioning within the NFC, but they've clinched up the division. Yeah,
but those wins are very important for them. I've played with that simulator game. Yep. Like one loss takes them to the four.
Yep. So all these pieces, honestly, I like, and even CD, like no one's going to go to CD Lamb at 7,100 yet, and the reason, for good reason, like he's been very pedestrian the last 4 weeks, right? He hasn't had more than 19 points the last 4 weeks, coming off a game of only 4 catches on 5 targets. So if you want a contrarian large field GPP spend up option, I think that's a place to go. But yeah, I think game stacks, and particularly maybe even secondary stacks with guys like Kirk, guys like Ertz, all 3 Dallas receivers. I'm probably not going to Edmonds after that outbreak in this particular spot, but I think you have to include him in your player pool. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a game right up there with some of these others. It's got a 51.5 over under, pretty much tied with.
It's lower than I would expect. I would actually expect
it started at 52. It's come down a little bit. The Cowboys actually.
I like that.
The Cowboys have an
means
implied.
People are taking the under.
Yeah, the Cowboys have an implied team total now of 28.75. The Cardinals have gone down though to only 22.75. So, it's a good spot. That game, and then the other game, that's sitting up around 50 is the Chiefs.
Also, here's what I'll say about Kyler Murray. What I think without DeAndre Hopkins there, I think you're seeing a higher rushing floor because there aren't as many spread them out options. First downs are now he's having to run out of that pocket, and for fantasy purposes, that obviously yields some reward. I think he had 80 yards rushing in the last game or something like that.
For sure.
So when you're talking about an indoor environment like Dallas, they've been playing pretty good coverage. Look for a potential couple big runs from him.
Absolutely.
What an environment for that.
Absolutely.
So
I agree with that.
And then the next one you were thinking,
as long as he's healthy enough. I mean,
he was running. He was running.
He's rushing more. He rushed for 74 yards last week. Fumbled the ball twice. So he could have had a much bigger day. I'm into Kyler this week. I really am. It's in Dallas. But you're right. The 4:00 game indoors. I definitely like Kyler.
But Dallas is good. Yeah. And I mean,
the only concern is how good Dallas's defense has been. They've been, undoubtedly the best defense in the league. Like the second half of this season, their pass rush is insane. But you're right. As long as they're able to see the blitz, he's got a high rushing floor. So, I like Kyler this week. I'm probably leaning a little bit away from Dak, given given probably some ownership, coming off the short week, coming off a 50+ point performance against the Washington team. Like, give me the Arizona side and give me the Dallas secondary pieces. That's what I'm interested in for that game.
What was the second one that you were?
The only other game that has a 50-point over/under and is just as attractive, in my opinion, is Chiefs Bengals. That's a 1:00 game in Cincinnati. Opened at 49.5, has a 51-point over/under now. We just saw what Cincinnati did to Baltimore. Obviously, Kansas City has been, since like week 8 or so, been maybe the best team in the league. So, I think both these teams come to play this week.
Yeah, it's tough to gauge because we've seen both of these teams. It wasn't that long ago. I honestly think it was 3 games ago. It was right before the Chargers game, and there was a lot of COVID situations coming in that game too. But the Chiefs struggled mightily on Monday Night Football, and their defense won them that game. And Cincinnati has these random games where Burrow doesn't throw for much at all.
Yeah.
And it's hard to gauge because it's in Cincinnati. I feel like if it was in KC, they would set the pace with the offense, and then Cincinnati would try to match it. But like, what if this is one where Cincinnati's defense really comes out to play? And like, I don't know. Yes, it could go that way, but I do feel like it could go that other way as well.
It could. Here's my concerns with the game, and I'll tell you what I like about the game. Concerns. we just saw Joe Burrow's best game of his career, right? Can he do it 2 weeks in a row against one of the hottest teams in the league which have a good defense? I don't know. Concern number 2, really big mismatch for the Bengals offensive line. The Chiefs defensive line has been one of the best in the league in the second half of the year. They have with Chris Jones is healthy. They have a pretty prolific pass rush. The one place the Bengals still struggle is protecting Joe Burrow. So that's a concern. And then, those are my main concerns. What I like about it, I actually think I like game stacking up the Chiefs side more, especially if Burrow's going to get steamed up after that last performance. The Bengals are really bad against tight ends. So we just saw what Mark Andrews did to them. Travis Kelce back healthy, ready to go. That's one of my favorite plays of the week. I have one team in the underdog best ball finals, the millionaire finals, and I was able to squeeze Travis Kelce through taking the 0 last week. So I'm really excited about what he could do this week. And
can you give me a quick explanation? There's a millionaire best ball league?
Yeah, so best ball, for people that don't know what best ball is, you draft at the beginning of the season like a normal season-long fantasy draft, like 18 rounds or so with 12 other people. And then it just basically starts your best team for you every week. So you don't ever make any moves. You have deep rosters, and it just.
So how do you get in a millionaire version of this other than a regular league?
So it goes weeks 1 through 13. You're in one league with every team. If you come in the top 2 of that league, you advance to the quarterfinals. Which is then basically drops off 80% of the field. If you come in the top 2 of your quarterfinals, you advance to the semifinals with an 18-person round. You have to win that. You have to come in first out of 18 to advance to the finals, which is 160 people left, and it's $1 million top prize. And I have one team that got through to the finals this week for underdog. So it was last week. It had Joe Burrow.
Hold on. So you have a 1 in 160 chance of winning $1 million?
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here, hold on. I'll show you the team. I'll put it up. I'll put it up on.
You are becoming a very unlikable person.
I'll put it up
masses.
on the screen.
And by the masses, I mean like me and 5 people.
Yeah. Let me show you what we got going on.
Let me see this lineup.
Yep. Here we go.
For $1 million, this guy. I mean, you talk about the millionaire you won last year. You had the almost millionaire this year. You had a couple of tournament wins. Now you're in the best ball finals. I mean, really.
It's not loading on web, but I'll read out some of the things. So basically what happened was you basically last week needed to basically have like one of those Bengals in your lineup to get through, right? So a lot of the teams in this are going to have Burrow with Higgins,
So basically you made it to the finals. There's going to be a lot of crossover. However, somebody like Kelce.
Right.
So somebody like Kelce, you're probably the only
right. So I actually just went through. I just went through last night because they just updated to see the other 160 teams. So Kelce, there's 12 or 13 Travis Kelce teams out of 160. Where Mark Andrews, there's like 80, right, or 90. And Burrow. So I have Burrow with Higgins, and like also almost everyone has Cooper Kupp that made it this far, right? So like it's almost. So this team has Kupp. The Ponzi scheme, T. Higgins, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, with Burrow in there. And then I had Antonio Gibson as my RB1, who just was ruled out. So that hurts this team. But I got Montgomery in a very good matchup against the Giants this week. Singletary, who's been kind of taken over as the Bills lead back in a good matchup against the Falcons. So my running backs are a little weak, but then I got Kelce in here. So we'll see.
Is there any second place or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. No. So the payout is the least second win is $1,000. So it's $1 million to first, $250 to second, $175 to third, $100 to fourth, $50K to fifth. So if I come top 5, I win $50K. We'll see. It's just having a dog in the race for this is great. Underdog is awesome. I can't recommend it enough. I know next year I really want to hype up best ball, but maybe we'll do some best ball podcasts before. It's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. And you don't have to do anything. You just draft at the beginning of the year. It's the same as a GPP, by the way. You could do up to 150 entries. I only did 60, so getting one through at 60 lineups was pretty good. But yeah, the most you see of anyone in this is like somebody with 2 entries or 3 entries. Everyone's pretty much just one in the finals here. So
fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So one game that I just saw that I think looks attractive, at least from one side of it. I mean, Buffalo hosting Atlanta with a lot of stuff on the line, and Josh Allen looking like the way you'd hope that he would look these last couple of weeks. I think you saw in the second half versus the Bucs, and then he just kind of continued it straight through. Home against Atlanta. Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, do me a favor. If you tell me that he's not going to be highly owned, that's it. Because this week, with all these options, I'm just going to say, fuck it. Give me a couple people and I'm putting it all behind them. I don't feel like sifting through the fucking seaweed in the corners right now. I'm not going to look at some shit game that, no, I don't want to go see where Marvin Jones is playing this week. No, just give me trustworthy, low-owned people. And if you tell me Josh Allen is low, I know he's not, because I just got excited and that means something's not going to happen. So tell me how Josh Allen's
here's the thing. Like, he's going to draw ownership, but this is a 14-game slate with a bunch of high-end options and a bunch of salary relief options, because there's so many. We have the Trey Lances of the world, we have the Tyler Huntleys of the world, both of whom I think are in play, by the way. But yeah, I mean, right now we have Josh Allen at ETR for 14% owned. All right. Osimo has him for.
How about Diggs? Because at least, like, if you
Osimo only has him for 9%, so let's call him like around 10-11%. He's going to end up being, which I'm fine with that for one of the top quarterbacks. Yeah, and then Diggs is going to come through with some ownership, like 14%.
All right, you give me under 14, give me a double 14, I can live with that.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't say it.
Honestly, no, we only have Stephon Diggs at like 6% right now, so yeah, that's.
Well, it makes sense because, look, dude, this is a bunker bargain week with all these teams going on. I think you have a higher percent chance with someone. Same thing you said about CeeDee Lamb. Yep. Yeah, Diggs had a touchdown last week, but he had like 76 and a touchdown. When people are seeing Tyler Boyd go for more than that, then they're like, you know what, screw this.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, and then the others, they're fully healthy at receiver again this week. So Cole Beasley's back, Gabriel Davis is back. So you could take the Isaiah McKenzie, one-off game from last week off the board. Emmanuel Sanders is irrelevant. I think any variation of doubles between Diggs, Davis, Beasley, and Knox all make sense to me. Again, we don't like the Beasley-Knox mix because they eat into what each other do. Besides that, I'm cool with any of the combination of those four for doubles with Josh Allen. The problem what you run into there is bringbacks. Now, Kyle Pitts has a record that he's running for most receiving yards by a rookie tight end. Problem is, it's not a good matchup, right? The Bills are good.
And the problem is there's 2 weeks left. It's not like they have to shove it all in this week.
Right. Bills are good against tight ends. That said, Pitts has definitely turned it on the last couple of weeks. He's starting to kind of return value from where he was drafted. Unfortunately, it's probably too late for people that drafted him season long. But yeah, I mean, 6 for 102 last week, 7 for 70 or 4 for 77 the week before that. Problem is, he just hasn't found the end zone. But he's getting the targets, he's getting the looks. I think if you want in large field to bring back Pitts, that's okay. And then of course Russell Gage you have to consider as well, given what his role's turned into. Problem there is, Bills against number one receivers. Obviously White's down, but it's not the tastiest matchup there.
So you got Antonio Brown living in Tom Brady's garage, chasing an extra, $250,000 for a couple catches. Yep. I assume that's going to be tasty against the Jets. And then you also have Ronald Jones against the Jets' run defense. You got to assume a lot of people are in on both of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to not have exposure to some Buccaneer in most lineups this week does not make much sense to me, and that includes the Bucs defense. But first of all, we've said this for years, or for a couple of years now with the Jets. When a team is favored by that much against a team, right? So what are they favored there by 13 right now? They have to cover that spread. They need to score points somehow, right? And we know they like to put their foot on the gas. So yes, it's a great matchup for Ronald Jones. And my guess is the game plan is run the ball down the Jets' throats. That doesn't mean that Tom Brady won't get his this week. I think Tom Brady stacks are perfectly fine. I'm less into Tom Brady doubles this week, just given the fact that I think they probably can get there with a skinny stack with either Brown or Gronk or Evans if he comes back.
Yeah, how about Gronk? What if you sneak Gronk? Because I feel like people are put off by what he did last week.
Jets are bad against tight ends. He's coming down for down week. I really like Gronk a lot this week. So especially with Brown's going to be the chalkiest play on the slate. Maybe if Evans was ruled in, I guess a little bit of that ownership will draw back, which is helpful for Antonio Brown purposes. But if Evans is out, I think you go back to looking at Tyler Johnson. I mean, Antonio Brown just stole all the targets last week, so I think Tyler Johnson would be in an okay spot here as a salary relief play. But Ronald Jones, to me, is just like pretty good chalk. I mean, he carried the ball 20 times last week. I would be shocked if he doesn't fall into the end zone here. Maybe Keyshawn Vaughn will continue to take a little bit more work, but I think Ronald Jones is one of the better mid-tier running back plays in a week that has a lot of them. And maybe we'll just talk about that a little bit. I mean, there's him, there's Rashad Penny at 6,100, there is David Montgomery at 6,500. All of those three guys are in really, really great matchups, good spots.
How you feeling about Sony Michel at 5,800 with no Henderson? And what is Akers going to get? Two touches?
Yeah, no, I know. And he's going to get the ball a ton. My only thing is, and this is just a hunch in this game, is Stafford has not looked right? And I think we just saw what the Bengals did. This Ravens pass defense is not good. I really do think they want to try to reestablish the pass game this week. It's West traveling east. It's a 1:00 game, so it's early for the Stafford of that offense. That scares me a little bit. But other than that, I do think that they're going to try to attack them through the air. That said, Michelle just as a volume-based play alone, they get down to the 1, he's going to score a touchdown. He's a good play. But I like some of these other guys just a little bit better because Penny's against the Lions. He's been very good. Josh Jacobs is 6,200. You can go there, but Montgomery's going to get 30 carries against the Giants for sure. And then DeAndre Swift's back 60. I want to know how limited he is, but he's 6,000 against the Seahawks.
I wouldn't play him.
Yeah.
If you remember when all the running backs were there, remember his huge weeks came. Jonathan Williams. He missed it. He missed.
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams. Give them motherfuckers. When he missed some time, he really blew up. And then when he came back, they're just not. What purpose does running him into the ground coming off injury for 25 carries? I
agree with you, but Dan Campbell doesn't agree. Dan Campbell doesn't agree with that. I want to know what the limit may be on him. Because he was getting 19, 20 touches a game before he went down in week 10 and 11, and he was getting crazy, yardage. I mean, he had 136 yards and then 130 yards in the 2 weeks before he got hurt, just on the ground. That's not counting any of his passing game work. I think he's worth a sprinkle in large field. If you're MMEing, I think you have to include some DeAndre Swift. It's a really good matchup. The Seahawks have been a run funnel all year. But yeah, it scares you. There might be a split backfield there. Who knows what they're going to do? And then a name that I like, I think this makes sense to kind of just stick at running back here. Then we can talk about some of the other games. But I like Elijah Mitchell. So I'm hearing that he's going to play. He practiced and limited yesterday. I'm assuming he's going to practice today. And I'm not going to give away any sources, but I've heard some things through the grapevine that he's got also some incentive records going on. And as long as he gets cleared, he's going to be the bell cow.
So when when you're down there with your drug cartel, you're getting inside tips from high sources. I get it.
That's exactly right. He needs 241 rush yards over the next two weeks to hit his incentives. So as long as he gets a clean bill of health, I think they're going to try to get him 120 rush yards at least over the next couple of weeks here. And when he's healthy, he just automatically becomes the bell cow, right? We've seen his last 3 games that he played, 27 carries, 22 carries.
Yes.
And it's against Houston. And because of the questionable tag, because he hasn't played in a couple weeks, people are not going to go there. I love Eli Mitchell this week, man.
I know that you're scarred from the week when he came back and nobody played him against Seattle, and where you just went off.
And I had opposite information then, was that his hand was hurt and he couldn't be catching the ball.
Because you don't know if there's a guy like me on the staff who's intentionally going to do that just to screw people out of some, I don't know, desire to be the Grinch.
He's really high on my radar this week is Eli Mitchell against the Texans.
There's some random names. I mean, we went by that game without actually talking about it because remember, there's going to be no Hilaire, a 5,800 Darrell Williams. Yep. We know he gets a couple catches guaranteed. I mean, totally. He went when Hilaire went out, he went right back to that kind of production towards the end of that game.
Yeah, if you're not
Pittman,
going to
one of the
I was just say if you're not going to Kelsey or Hill or Mahomes, I love getting Darrell Williams in lineups this week for sure.
Yep. Pittman 5,800 seems like a good price for a pretty high ceiling guy.
Yep, totally. And let's say on that game, how do you feel about 9,000 Jonathan Taylor this week?
How many of the offensive linemen do they get back?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question right
because now. So what's interesting is I think he basically hit 100 without all those offensive linemen.
It was one big run though. He had a 43-yard run at the beginning of the game.
I remember. But granted, with the new COVID protocols, you'd imagine that they get some of those guys back.
Reading Silva's matchups right now. All of them are coming back. Nelson, Kelly, and Glowinski all are back this week. And the Raiders have given up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs. So,
but there is no Carson Wentz, correct?
Is that true?
Yeah,
I think he's playing. I don't know.
I think he actually had COVID the other day. Just the other day. There's no way he'd be able to be cleared in time.
He has a chance to play, but it's not looking like.
Get out of here!
I don't know if he's gonna play. Let's see. I mean, if Carson Wentz is out, the problem.
So let's just say because then if he's playing, there really shouldn't be a conversation. To get him at 9,000 is a relative discount, isn't it?
Yes, I would say that's true.
Okay, so now let's say if he is not playing. I guess it's tough because people are going to say, "Well, look what you saw last week. He couldn't get a ton going," but that's different. He couldn't get stuff going.
Arizona's run D's been good all year too, so it's like
with all fake offensive linemen.
Right. Right. And, we have been saying it for a while. I mean, he's kind of entered this Derrick Henry range where, everyone knows what's coming. They stack the box anyway, and it doesn't really make a difference. So if he gets the offensive lineman back, I'm pretty good with it at 9K. I probably am more inclined to go to like Austin Eckler, who's fully healthy and people are going to avoid because they think it's a bad matchup. But we talk about all the time how he's really just a receiving back at the core of it. And because of the bad matchup, because Taylor's only like 800 more, I think everyone's going to avoid Austin Eckler when at the end of the day, the Chargers need this game more than anyone. And Mike Williams coming back off COVID lists, that we've seen people kind of, be slow to get their feet back under them when they actually had the virus.
Well, yeah, people wouldn't even play Mike Williams when he's completely
I'm just saying,
healthy.
I think that they're running that game fully through Austin Eckler, a little bit of Keenan Allen, but I think it's going to be a lot of let's get Austin Eckler out in space and let's see what he could do. He's going to come through at like single digit ownership while Jonathan Taylor is going to be 20+%. So Carson Wentz, by the way, we are still waiting. He can come off Sunday morning, so we're not going to know until Sunday morning. That's what we're going to see on Wentz. I think if Wentz plays and everyone's healthy, Wentz, Pittman, and looks like Doyle's healthy today. I was hoping he wouldn't be because I wanted to play some Mo Alley Cox. I think if everyone's healthy, I think Jonathan Taylor is probably one of the best plays on the slate.
So, are there any other tricklers that we may have missed in any of these games? Because there's just so many to look at, and you just know somebody in some meaningless game is going to pop off.
Yeah. There's a ton of guys, right? So we talked about
Fortunately, I don't see any truly meaningless games other than Giants at Chicago.
Yeah, honestly, in that game, I'm playing David Montgomery. That's really it. I think you could have made it if Trey Lance and Tyler Huntley weren't on this slate. I think you could, and even Taysom Hill now too. I think you could have made an argument for 4,800 Nick Foles against the Giants, given that they're that bad. Honestly, I'm not kidding. But given that those other guys are on this slate, no, thank you. So I think that one it's Montgomery. We talked about the Bucs, the Jets. By the way, for the Jets side with the Bucs things of it all, Braxton Berrios is going to be the very chalky bring back because they're going to be without Elijah Moore and Crowder this week. So Berrios had a ton of targets last week, but he's going to draw ownership. That said, I don't hate chalk when it's sub 4K guaranteed targets. I don't hate it, like especially with the correlation. So like
that makes sense.
If you're going to Bucs in your lineups, even on the other side of just Rojo, and you need a 3,800 wide receiver, I'm cool eating the Berrios chalk. If you want to get a little bit different, you can look at some of their other guys. It's just not going to be that attractive. Here's the thing. The Bucs have been beatable through the air. They're going to be playing from behind the whole time. I don't hate either Berrios or maybe Keelan Cole as like a cheap bring back. It's okay.
Another game, I think the only other one that's truly meaningless is Detroit at Seattle. And don't be surprised if Russell Wilson has maybe like a throwback game and throws 4 touchdowns. There's no reason to like run the whole game through Penny to get some meaningless win.
But
if anything, Wilson, I feel like wants to boost his case at the end of the year towards this. Maybe get the hell out of there.
That's certainly possible. The negatives of this game is bad pace. The Lions are starting Boyle again. Like I just don't trust their ability to score points. I think this game stays on the ground a lot. I think it goes under. Right now, it's gone from 45 to 41.5. The Seahawks are favored by 7.5. I
actually like that because that means people are betting the under, and your average person's a big loser.
I guess I thought it was going to be under from 45. I think the 40-ish, 41 point over under is probably right. But in general, I think that this game is pieces for me. Like I'll include Lockett and Metcalf in my pool. I'll definitely include Penny. I'll probably include Swift. Josh Reynolds just went on the COVID list like 2 minutes ago. So I think St. Brown, considering his volume, even with Boyle last week.
Jacked up his price to like 6,100.
Yep. So I think he's okay, but I'm not going with Russ. He has not gotten to a stealing game once this year. This is a bad pace against a bad matchup. There's a million other games on the slate. It's an easy fade for me.
Okay.
Let's talk quickly about what was the game I was just looking at? Oh yeah, Eagles Washington. I talked at the top about that a little bit. Eagles need this game. Washington's eliminated. Washington just ruled out Antonio Gibson. I think McKissick's still going to be on the IR. So Jared Patterson's going to be a source of relief, 4,800. He was kind of a pass down / started getting some carries for Washington there. I'd been so big on McLaurin all year, but I just can't get there unless you're going with Hurts stacks and you need some bringbacks. I'm not that interested in. I'm curious about this game, though. It's going to be this division battle. It's in Washington. It's got a 44-point total. Hurts is, can always be heard from. They really want the game. I don't know if it's going to play defensive or offensive. I could see it going either way.
So, yeah, it's hard to know. I always feel that a team that feels pressure is way less likely to fucking have a ceiling game. Yeah. There's just, Lois Einhorn, what would you know about pressure? And I feel like they're going to feel it. And on the other side, you have a team that's playing with no pressure.
Yep.
It's okay. We lose. We're the team that doesn't even have our starters in. We're out of the playoff. Like, it's no big deal. Fans get a better draft pick. But if you come out and start with a couple sacks, you feel happy about ruining the Eagles, your division. Right? It's like a win-win.
For sure.
I'd be terrified to play Eagles in this game.
Yep.
I mean, can I be wrong? Yes, but just the odds of them laying down.
And again, like the strategy around a 14-game week is trying to find spots to basically eliminate. Like, right, we have the Giants game you could basically eliminate outside of Montgomery. I think the Saints-Panthers game is another one. That went from a 48-point live open to a 38-point over-under now. So, like, I think that game you can pretty much just avoid. They're going to play a mix of Darnold and Cam again and Taysom Hill. The only thing there is it's in New Orleans. Every single time Taysom Hill starts, he manages to hit a floor. So, like, if you want to go there but I would go naked Hill probably. I don't even know if I'd be stacking him up. Like, I just go with him and, get your best plays on the slate around him. And then the last game I want to talk about, Broncos-Chargers. So it's a 45.5, so like middle over-under for this game. The Chargers have a 26 implied total where the Broncos only have a 19.5. My concern here is Drew Lock. Can they score enough points to keep up? But the Chargers need this game. It's must win. We've seen what Herbert has been doing the second half of the season. He's been very good. I talked about I like Eckler already. They're at home. Yes, the Broncos defense is solid, but the sneaky thing with the Chargers this week where I think Herbert can get it done and no one's going there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And when it comes to the points from the other side, we saw Rex Burkhead, who's slower than you, run for 150 and 2 touchdowns. So if you think those two Broncos can't run,
and I like those guys, I like both of them a lot this week. So much so that I'll have a lot of exposure. The problem is both of them are questionable. Well, they're both going to play, but they are both injured with different injuries. I'm waiting to see. Maybe by this point we're recording.
Always take the younger guy in that scenario.
I agree. So they were both limited at practice yesterday. I'm waiting to see what their practice reports were for Friday because it's going to tell a lot. But yes, I prefer Javonte Williams in that spot, but I like both those guys, especially on the other side of any type of Charger stuff. I think they're both really good. So a lot of running back very deep this week is really what I'm.
Well, every single position is going to be very deep, which is why it's impossible for a Charlie Bucket to make a single lineup this week. So why don't you help us out, help Charlie out by giving us your Men's Warehouse pick of the week.
Let's do it.
Because I feel, you've had a lot of guys that you'd mentioned that you really, really like, but if you had to kind of drill one person, who would it be?
Wow, so like it's been, I feel like I've gone to this guy so many times and he hits on the weeks that I don't hit. But I think I'm going to do it this week because
it's going to be Kelsey.
It is. It really is. I mean, listen, he was only out last week because of COVID. 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, he had 13 targets for 191. It looked like in 2 touchdowns. It looked like old school Travis Kelsey was back. The Bengals stink against tight end, bottom 5 in the league. Mark Andrews just destroyed them. Basically, Kelsey didn't clear protocols, but he was, if you recall, up until that 11:30 time, people were hoping that he would clear and be able to play. Meaning, tells me he felt fine. So all he basically had was a week off of rest. Now, they're in a game where the Bengals are playing some really good offense. If that game does play up, there's no reason to me why he can't be a slate breaker once again here. I'm hoping he is for my underdog team. I love him for DraftKings this week. So I'll take Kelsey at 7,300, pay up a tight end, and hopefully win you a week. Mark Andrews has actually exceeded him in price now too. So.
Yeah, I believe Andrews is another one of those guys chasing a record, which isn't good for your millionaire best ball league. He's chasing
tough matchup for him though.
Yeah. And maybe they'll just pile it on during that. You can hope for that week 18 pylon.
The scary thing with him though is Huntley and him have a real connection, so it's
he's chasing the most yards ever, right? By a tight end,
something like that. Yeah,
that's crazy,
which is nuts.
But then you have you have the naysayers coming in saying, yeah, but you get an extra game. Shut up. So my Men's Warehouse pick of the week, and I always feel a little fraudulent going to a quarterback, but what if I told you that I'm going to say he's going to be top 3? And that's the faith that I'm going to have in Kyler Murray.
I like it.
I know Gary is worried essentially only when he's injured. But the injury is really not a concern. If you look when he's come back, they held him out a good, I think, 5 weeks from the high ankle sprain. He's run in almost every game. He had 90 yards a few weeks back, then 80 yards last week. Like, he's running it without Hopkins indoors. I love this situation for him, especially with the Cowboys offense feeling good about themselves, people putting their chips on that side of it. And if you get Kyler Murray, go ahead, pair him with Kirk, pair him with Ertz. You know, Ertz, like Gary said before, if you watch these games, it seems like he's always targeting Ertz. So you could even single stack it if you want. Bring back any of the Cowboys on the other side. Like Gary thinks that Lamb's going to have a low ownership, or someone like Gallup who had an off week. Somebody is one of those situations where somebody's going to, kind of not get theirs on any given week. You had Cooper complaining a few weeks ago that he had his game last week. Gallup 2 catches his past game. Now he'll probably have 5 catches. So, that's where you can go. So I'm going with Kyler Murray. For quarterback, I'm going to give you a top 3 or 4 performance on the week, hopefully number 1. But he is my men's warehouse pick of the week in a must-win game. Like, they cannot keep moonwalking down on these standings. So even if they lose, I feel like you're going to get one hell of a shot with an extra day of rest as well.
Yep. I like it, man. I really do. Obviously I've been pretty preoccupied, so just started doing my research really last night. And just us having this conversation here, I'm way more talked into the Cardinals than I was before we even started recording. So I'm excited as I build tonight and tomorrow to have a lot of exposure to that side. I think it's, and Ertz, man, I love Ertz. I can. Their tight end's an interesting spot this week. He's got Andrews chasing that record. Kelsey's my favorite play. Kittle theoretically is in a really good matchup, but Trey Lance, they're going to keep the ball a lot on the ground a lot. But then Gronk, we talked about him. I think he's sneaky as hell. We love Gronk. So tight end, and Goddard is okay. And then you got Moreau in a really good matchup against the Colts. Like Uzomah in that same game, I think he's been getting a consistent amount of targets. So a lot of tight ends this week that could get it done. So.
All right, Gary. So, what do you think? You want to you want to try to throw us a lineup? You want to throw us a quick million?
Let's give it a try here. You have one up and ready to go? Because I'm finishing mine up.
No, it's all right. I can start you off. So I'm obviously going to start with my men's warehouse pick of the week in Kyler Murray. So this game's going to be built around Kyler Murray, and I'm going to pair him with Ertz and Christian Kirk.
I like that double.
Kirk didn't have much last year. I mean, I'm just thinking of this environment against Dallas. They're going to move. He's that kind of guy. They move in and out. Who are they going to put Diggs on? They're going to put him on Christian Kirk. They'll probably just slap him on the outside against AJ Green or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're going to look. Your best opportunities are probably going to come through Ertz and Kirk. I know this Dallas defense has been playing great, but let me see him do it against a motivated, mobile quarterback who has a really high ceiling. Let me see, because we also see Kyler Murray play some of his best games against defenses you would not be expecting his best games to come against. So that's the double stack. I have Michael Gallup going back on the other side, 4,800. He was the odd man out last week. He's been relatively consistent since he's come back. He's kind of a big touchdown guy too. They really look at him in the red zone for those fades that I absolutely hate, but they usually go to Gallup. We've seen him convert one. We've seen him attempt it a few more times, so hopefully he gets more involved because he wasn't involved last week. Even in his non-involvement, he had 2 for 52 or something like that. So then for running back, I'm going to go with the chalk that hopefully you said is good chalk. And Ronald Jones, 6,300, should get his 20 carries, should get into the end zone. Probably will hit that the 100-yard bonus. And because there's no Fournette and because there's still no Giovanni Bernard, they're going to force 3 to 4 catches to him, which is, I mean, that's a pretty solid floor with a pretty high ceiling, if you ask me. Then I'm going to go to a guy who, I've never really liked this guy. He's mediocre in my opinion, but with the volume you've seen from him the last couple weeks, you should expect a similar result with Sony Michel. He's not even going to get spelled by Darrell Henderson. How much could Cam Akers be involved? I honestly think it's just addressed and let him wave at the crowd and say, look how this guy came back from a torn Achilles. So take Michel against a Ravens defense that it seems like it's always a little better against the run, even though Mixon had close to 100 total. They had over 100 total and 2 touchdowns last week, but they still were tough on the run. He only had like 60 yards rushing, but hopefully he can find a way to get himself involved there. And then, as always on this show, we have a punt. My punt had a good 8 targets and 6 catches for 50 yards last week. It looks like Zay Jones is going to be my punt of the week in a must-win game for them against Indianapolis. And I also, I could have had CeeDee Lamb in this spot, but I really want to play Stephon Diggs this week against Atlanta. I just really, 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 really do, because it's my way of grabbing some of that Josh Allen ceiling that I think is going to kind of show its face this week. And I'm playing the Panthers defense against New Orleans. I don't know. You can. There's actually a decent amount for defense. You could choose any within there. I just chose the one with the highest price, but maybe I'll take another quick look at that. So it's a Murray double stack with Gallup going the other way, Ronald Jones and Michelle, Stephon Diggs, and Zay Jones. Yeah. That's the Murray lineup.
I like it, man. I like Zay a lot, actually, which is so funny because I remember when that guy was drafted, he was a big deal, second round prospect, and then out of nowhere this week, this year down the stretch, as defenses kind of hone in on Hunter Renfrow the last couple weeks, this guy's getting like 10 targets a game. It's hilarious.
Ever since he did that moonwalk thing in Buffalo, he had a fan in me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, for my lineup.
If you haven't seen that, by the way, people, you need to YouTube it. Zay Jones, moonwalk, airwalk. It's the craziest thing ever.
It's
but
cool.
It looks like it's like a fucking virtual glitch or something. The way he gets back up to his feet.
It's amazing.
But anyway,
it's amazing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I'm switching my thing up right now, real quick, actually. So, because I also have Ronald Jones in it, but I'm going to go to the other chalk in Tampa now. So, yeah, because I like a lot of these running backs in that same range, so I don't mind doing that. All right, so I'm going to Mahomes to Kelsey. Have to get my Men's Warehouse guy in there. I really wanted to get Higgins or Chase as the bring back, but just for what I'm trying to do in the rest of this lineup, it's tough to do it.
You had to go Boyd.
I had to go Boyd, which, you know what? It is what it is. Like, he's
become this guy that was really good. Like, all right, I'll put him in.
At least his price is reasonable.
He's the Gallup over there. He's the Gallup.
He is. And you know what? Like, I do think it's a way to beat them is in the middle of the field. That's what they're going to need to be able to do for them. I think he's going to be a little bit. He's had like between 5 and 7 targets for each of the last 4 weeks. So I think he's going to be on the high end of that, between 7 and 8 this week. Yeah, and he's getting to the end zone. So I'll go Boyd on the other side there. All right, my mid-price running backs. I am going with Eli Mitchell. Talked about him a lot. Should be healthy, assuming he's fully on the field against the Texans. Great spot for him, and an awesome pivot to that 6K range. You're going to get a lot of Penny, a lot of Montgomery, a lot of Ronald Jones. I think Eli Mitchell falls through the cracks here, so I like him. I'm going to go Rashad Penny as my other running back. I just switched it from Ronald Jones to Penny against the Lions. Man, this guy out of nowhere, Rashad Penny. 135 yards last week, 137 yards 2 weeks ago, 3 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. Clearly becoming the bell cow there. I think they just want to keep the game on the ground a lot. They want to sneak out of that game with a quick victory, get the season over with, give Penny some value. So I like Penny there. And then I also want a piece of that Buffalo pass game. I'm going to go to Gabriel Davis. So we saw what he had started to do before he went down with COVID a couple weeks ago. Basically fully took over Emmanuel Sanders' role, and he's their top red zone target. So 4 touchdowns in his last 3 games played. Also 15 targets in his last 2 games before that combined. So really like what he brings against a Buffalo Atlanta team that will try to put all their attention on Diggs. Going to open up stuff for the rest of that passing game. He's only 5,000. Really like Gabriel Davis for tournaments this week. And then secondary stack, going to go with Antonio Brown and Braxton Berrios. Both chalk, but I have enough contrarian in this lineup with guys like Mitchell and Davis that I'm cool eating that chalk. Brown, man, it's just the amount they're using him is insane right now. 15 targets last week, 13 the week before that. This is subject to change if Evans comes back and gets a clean bill of health, but for now, I like Antonio Brown.
No.
And then, I got, let's see, I have 2,600 for defense here. Let's go with the Broncos. Herbert can Herbert can turn the ball over plenty of times, right? He chucks the ball. So,
still a good defense. Man.
Yep. Mahomes to Kelsey with Boyd, Mitchell, Penny, Gabriel Davis, Berrios, Antonio Brown, and the Broncos defense. There you go.
All right, man. I wish you good luck on that best ball thing. That's nuts that you got in there.
I'll keep you updated.
So there's 160 left. What was the starting number?
Let's see.
Roughly.
I could probably find out.
Roughly, like talking about like 100,000 or.
Yeah, let's see. I'll be able to know.
That is.
It was.
I mean, I hope people understand that to do that without to go on this run without mass entries on a nightly basis is really something. And I am a credit refuser. I don't give people credit for anything. So this is one hell of a run that you're on, man.
It was over 100,000. I know that much. It was 20. It was like $20 or $25 entries in 12-person leagues, and there's 100. Yeah, it was like couple, over six figures worth of people. For sure.
Were you engaged? You were engaged when you won the million, right?
I was engaged when I won the million. Yeah.
I have a theory that the gods only give these things to people who can truly not enjoy the fruits of them. Like, I feel like the minute I get engaged, watch me hit that power sweep. Like the minute
you're open to getting married, Andy. I don't know why. I thought you'd be a bachelor forever.
There's a fine line between that being cool and you being a scumbag. So
I swear I mean it in the cool way, not the scumbag way.
I'm aware, because however long you took to think about it, I've thought about it infinitely more. You're a single entry thinker. I'm a mass entry thinker of that. I'm thinking about 150 times a week. So, I know, but the thing is, I'm a self-aware, I'm an evaluator. I've always told people, the minute I go out to a place and I get that look, like I go to say what's up to someone and I get that look like, oh my God, this guy's trying to talk to me, you'll never have to convince me ever again. I'm hanging up the skates. I will be engaged the next week. So that's how it's going to go for me.
I guess I more meant, I don't know if you'd want kids or not. Do you want kids one day? Wow, we got him stumped, folks. Folks, you see him in the corner there. He doesn't know if he's going back out for the round. He's thinking about it. He might be throwing in the towel. We're going to see.
Throwing the goddamn towel. Well, the way I've always explained it, not to be philosophical for the folks here, but when someone's like, oh, do you want kids? I say, well, when I wake up in the morning and before I go to bed, I've never really thought about that. And the day that I go to bed and wake up and that's what I'm thinking about is the day I'll change my mind on it, and I'm completely open to it. But as long as I'm thinking about T. Higgins matchups on Sunday mornings, I don't think that's not in the immediate future, but we will see.
Fair enough. And we have to give T. Higgins credit, right? He's the Ponzi scheme that broke through. He's an absolute beast. So good for T. Higgins.
He is. And I'll apologize that we went off on him for those weeks. It turns out he was just a guy.
It's almost a bad thing, because it really gives like the A dot and air yards have been telling that he's going to break through, and he did. So you got to
Mike Clay's been having a silent those guys cheesecake celebration this whole time, saying, "I told them."
Yeah. As Evan Silva would say, the spreadsheet virgins really got through on that one. So.
Speaking of which, I got to say, I saw one of your guys there. He actually got a single audible laugh out of me. I think Adam. Yeah,
Adam Levitan he's hilarious, man. He's truly.
He
hilarious.
had it was about ass eating season. And, he presented it. He presented it in the classic nerd way, which is always funny. And I saw something about it is they're confused by the term. You see this it's ass eating season.
Adam Levitan's solo pod, which he does every week on Monday. It's like 25-minute thing where he like for 5 minutes talks about the DFS slate, and then 20 minutes is just listening to listener questions, and usually they're about sex. And it is the funniest. Like, he's like a Howard Stern disciple. He's truly great. He's fantastic at what he does. I'm honored to work with him. He's great.
Well, I'll tell you this, Adam. Take this from a guy who has a 20-year-old younger brother, and I'm very close to them, and I saw how things were through the. These kids, they're 14. They got 9 gigs of hentai porn on their camera roll by that time. The nastiest thing that you won't even ask your wife or girlfriend or whatever to do, they've done it before high school ended. So whatever it is that you're thinking, like, I was confused by, you would be educated by somebody half your age. So the way I look at it is a depressing situation for fellas such as you and myself, who had to endure many years in high school selling our kidney for 1/10 of what these people are getting handed away, as one of Gary's and I's friends says all the time.
They're giving it away.
Yeah, they are handing it away.
Man.
Just like those comedy shows on the streets in Times Square, handing them away. So that's my response to your ass-eating season.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's enjoy Week 17.
Absolutely. Hey, look, we're coming to an end. We're going to go a little off the cuff But
Yeah,
hey, we have to
no.
welcome these people back in
We're back.
legitimate way.
We're excited. We'll definitely be here for week 18. We haven't spoken about playoff.
Oh yeah,
plans
as
yet,
quick
but-
as quick as we're back, we'll be gone after next week. So everybody, come in next week, enjoy it. We'll have a little. I'll be back in the studio. We'll have a nice little farewell tour party, and Gary's gonna do some campaigning for the show in the off season.
Hell yeah.
I've determined that myself.
Absolutely. And good luck to everyone out there. Thanks for being bearing with us during my time off. But hope everyone had a good week 15 and 16, and good luck to week 17.
Absolutely, and if Gary doesn't post about this millionaire best ball league on Sunday, you know he lost it. So
Well,
go check his page for updates, and we will see you guys next week.
All right,
take
take
it
care.
easy.